Sorry about that, I accidentally hit the off button. Party. There it is. Oh yeah, that looks and smells good. Smells like mustard, alright. We need to get a bit more in there. And I need a spatula to scrape the sides. So we'll just wash that. Here's my spatula. This one. Rinse my mustard off. Just to make sure there's no dust in there. Water's come out pretty good. I don't think we really need to bother, but I'll do it anyway because it also puts the brine into the mix, and then we'll adjust it. If it's already brine enough, then we don't need to. But just get everything going and started. Alright, let's put another load of this in. Let's see what it does. I'll show you what it looks like before and after. That backlighting is terrible. I need a light. Alright. There. Mustard seed, there's a little bit already ground in there, so you can see the yellow specks. And a little bit of chaff in there, but we won't notice that once it's all done. So we need to blend this up on high in Thermomix. If you've got a good blender, you can use any good blender. The Thermomix is really good for this. I think I put a little bit too much in there. We'll give it a bit longer. It's coming up okay. We want to get like semi-ground. You can't really go full grind, obviously, because it's only a blender. But we can do good, and we get like a whole grain mustard. Yeah, maybe we need a bit of brine in there. Let's have a taste of that. Let's see how much salt we've already got. If we get a bit of brine in there, we might be able to get it moving a bit better. Yeah, can't really taste much salt in there at all. So we can afford a lot more salt in there. Nice and spicy. You want about 4% brine. 4% is good, I think. So just salt and water, and 4% by weight. I normally do it by taste. A little bit more salt. Up to 5% salt. The more salt you put in, the less it'll go bad. But if you put more than 5% in, you start to just cure it. And we don't want cured, we want fermented. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a little bit stronger than I'd like, but once it goes in the mustard, it should thin it out. There's already some liquid in there from the original brine I did, which was pretty light on. close to catching. And once it catches, it'll start blending like a good paste. Like a good paste should. And it's a bit too thick. It's really thick. So we don't want it like that. We do definitely want more brine in there. I'll show you what it looks like this. It's coming together really good. Where's my light? There. Look at that. That's a good thick mustard. Too thick for now. We will put some more brine in there. We've got to get some garlic in there too soon. So another cup of brine. Get some garlic in there. Might still be a little bit thick. Let's have a look. I could accept that, but I think I want it a little bit thinner than that. Just a little bit. Oof, that mustard coming out of there, getting into my face. That's amazing. Hot English mustard. Wasabi. Alright, let's a bit more of that. He doesn't want to catch. Let's give it some encouragement. of that. It's almost perfect now. It's about just what I want. We'll put a bit more garlic in there. Got a lot of garlic to go in there. Spicy. Oh yeah. Look at that now. Now we're starting to look like mustard. It's a beautiful thing, man. So, texture wise, is about all we're looking at now. I think if I put that in, I think we need just a little bit more, just a little bit more brine. Wow, Sarah, thank you so much. 21 months. That's amazing, Sarah. How you going today? Thank you so much, Sarah. We're making the wild fermented mustard. I keep losing connection. So actually, it's been good for an hour or something, but previously, especially when I was in the garden, I kept losing the connection. We've got some amazing stuff going on here. I'll just mix this up, I'll put some water in it, and I'll show you. This and the smell of this mustard, because it's getting ground pretty warm, the smell's coming right out. I don't want to cook it, but it's, look at that. We've got some real deal mustard going on here. So I think that's about ready. I just need to taste the balance, check the consistency. Consistency is pretty good. Could probably get away with a bit more brine in there. Because it is pretty thick. Where'd my towel go? And like I said, you don't want to get too thick. You might have problems with the fermentation. If it goes bloop, bloop when it bubbles, it'd be like a lava, like a mud volcano. But that salt in that's good. I don't want more salt in there. Spicy. It's definitely spicy. I think after it's fermented it'll tone the spice down a bit. It's ground enough. We'll do the next batch and adjust the consistency, refine the consistency at the end. Excuse me. Okay, let's get a bit more in there and get this crack-a-lacking. We've got a whole lot of mustard. We've got to be jarring it up, and we'll use it to trade. Obviously I need to keep enough for myself, and we'll trade some. And maybe we can do a giveaway. Mustard giveaway for the stream. The water's still coming out pretty clear, so I don't think it's super necessary to wash it because we did winnow it pretty thoroughly, so there's not going to be much dust in there. Some garlic, get a few cloves of garlic in there, get that in there early this time. Garlic, I was going to do wild fermented garlic, honey, mustard, but I had a request from Squibs to do it vegan, so we're doing a vegan stream. And for those that missed, we did Majestic Jazzy Panda's Redeem from earlier in the year. It's been a long time, Panda, for avocado tomato dip. So we did that, and that is yum. It's almost finished now. I've been munching on that while I go because I'm been working up an appetite here. Sarah, I hope your day's been going amazing. How have you been? We spent a good time in the property out at back with Kyle earlier on, harvesting the mustard, the last of the mustard crop for this year. There's a little bit left, but I think I'll just leave that for seed. Keep going the wrong way. I have a bucket normally over there for my compost. I should put it back there. My daughter's pretty little lunchbox from when she was a kid. Alright, we'll put some garlic in there. And we need a little bit of brine to get it moving. Now let's get this batch going. I've been missing chat because I haven't seen chat in a while, in a good hour at least, and have I not been having chat? No one's chatting. I've got Sarah Tooth just now resubscribed. So amazing, Sarah. Thank you so much. I've got I can't see any chat. Hide chat, show chat. Don't know. If you've been chatting, I'm sorry. I've been missing everything. Alright, let's get this moving. Thank you for the yeet, Sarah. I think there's something wrong with mine. Let me go and get my laptop and I'll bring that up. Right, my chat's nearly up on my laptop, then I'll be able to see what I missed. Wow, I missed a whole hour's worth of chat. Here I was thinking I was alone. Sorry about that. I've got, let me bring my laptop over here. I'll switch it over. That's unbelievable. I had chat earlier on my phone and it worked. It was working. But now, it seems it's switched to only notifications. So all the way back to an hour ago, I have Yeetster. Yeetster, if you're still there, how you doing? Thanks for dropping by. ISTG, that's what it's like every time I cook at home. I've got no idea what you're on about now. Nixodine. Cutting onions. I can show you a few other ways to cut onions. My knife is pretty blunt though, so can't really cut them in as fine as I want them. Play Dead, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great. 6:29. What's the time now? 6:56. Sarah subscribed 6:35. Thank you so much, Sarah. You broke it. Fermented mustard. Yes, we're doing wild ferments. I do a lot of wild ferments. I do kimchi and sauerkraut, and I played with the Aspergillus oryzae fungus, which is what they use to ferment beans and or legumes and grains in Asia. You can make miso and doubanjiang and rice wine and those sorts of things without actually because if you try and just ferment a bean or a legume with this kind of fermentation method, it doesn't work. You can end up with rot and it's no good. So they use actually, if they're green beans, it's fine, but the drier beans and that, you get a much better fermentation if you use the fungus. And also, the way they use the fungus to ferment for wines, you get a much more potent wine in there. The way that, because the grain kind of, it's weird how it ferments. The grain sort of stays up and then the alcohol drips down, and so the yeast isn't submersed in the grain, in the alcohol all the time, so it can drip all the alcohol and get really strong. Alright, so we've got some good action going on this batch. We need to shut that off, and I definitely need a little bit more brine in there. We'll go for that mustard. When it hits your eyes and your nose, it's just like you're eating hot English mustard. that is the beautiful thing. We need some light on there, don't we? And now I've got mustard all over my laptop. Drip, drop. Kyle's bored. He wants some excitement. Sitting there watching me with his dumb face. Hey Kyle. Alright, a little bit more brine in there to thin it down. Sarah, thanks for dropping in. Enjoy your lunch. It's actually really yummy when I taste it. That real hit mustard, it's amazing. Alright, let's move that batch on. We'll go on to the next batch. I have to work out what size vessel I need to ferment this in. Oh, that mustard's getting in my eyes again. Alright. I've got the mustard in a bowl here washing in a light brine. Just wash out the dust, any fine dust. I did winnow it very thoroughly, but I just wanted to be a little bit extra thorough to make sure I didn't get any dusty kind of flavour in there. It's hard not to get mustard everywhere. I've mustard plants growing all through my kitchen. All this mustard. We finished harvesting the mustard from my garden today. It's the last harvest I'll do for the year. The rest of it I'll just leave for seed. And there's a lot for seed already that was just left. Generally when you harvest and you winnow out there, you're going to lose a little bit around here and there, so there's a lot of seed out there still. So I won't have any shortage of mustard, unless there's a flood like in France and everything gets washed away. sure the grine's the right balance. Too much salt, it won't ferment. Too little salt, and you might get something really bad. You get encouragement of the wrong bacteria. You get yeasts and slime and all sorts of things going on when it's not salty enough. And also, if you're fermenting vegetables, they can go all soft and gooey if they are not salty enough. So I'm aiming for about 4% salt, and I'm doing it from taste. So it's a bit of a ballpark figure, it might be a little bit more. And I'm going to get a bit of garlic in there. We're making garlic mustard. And we're getting a bit of rhythm going. Things are moving a bit smoother. Get a better idea of how the product reacts to what you're doing and where you want to go with it. So that's actually pretty good. I'm going to taste that just to be sure. pretty much exactly what I did the last few batches, so it should be exactly the same, but we'll taste it as we go anyway. It's good mustard. It's good. It's good mustard. I kind of want a little bit of sugar in there. By the time it's fermented, it's going to go sour anyway. We'll put sugar in there. Might end up pretty sour. Which is good. Might end up with alcohol. Won't be much alcohol though. Because of the salt. Avocado, tomato, dip in it. I'm going to go with that. And like I said earlier, we will refine the textures later. Once it's all together and mixed in the bowl, we'll refine the textures. So perhaps a little bit thinner, although I'm not adverse to leaving it like that. You found a bit of mustard, Kyle? Good game going for that. Oh, it's right in my eyeballs. I might need to take a quick toilet break in a sec. Messy. I think one more batch after this, then we'll be done with the grinding. I'll show you how it goes in. If you weren't here earlier, you wouldn't have seen that. So it goes kind of clumpy because we've washed it, obviously, in the water. So there. A fresh mustard seed, harvested from my garden. So that goes in there. And then a couple of, probably 2 cups of brine at around about 4%, maybe 5. Might have gone a little bit hard on that. And then crank it up. That's, wow, I put way too much brine in it. I wonder if that's because I put a bit more seed in there. Sure, I put 2 cups of brine in the last one. Maybe it was already ground a little bit and it made it pastier. paste it up. I was just a bit quick putting the brine in there. I should let it get a bit pastier before I put it in. Now I need more brine. And garlic, pepper garlic in this budget. Get that in. grit in the bottom of the bowl, so we didn't put that in. We won't be putting the bottom bit in, for obvious reasons. But I'm actually wondering about this last little bit. I think I did pretty well with that, so we'll put that in. Should be good. It seems to be a little bit grain, like not as ground as what I want. It's taking a bit longer. Mustard in my eyeballs. She's a little bit thick. There we go. Just make myself a coffee while I'm doing this. It's getting about that time. Sleepy time. Look at that. Steaming hot. Get my face out of that steam. That hurts. Right up in my nose and eyes. All that hot mustard. Alright, quick coffee. And have a quick coffee. Pot on the stove is still going. And my last batch. I'm wondering about this one if I should, because there's a little bit of grit in there. But it is actually a lot of mustard. I think, judging by the bowl, all the grit's on the bottom and none of it come up the side, I think I'm pretty safe with that. And the rest of that I'll throw in the garden for seed. So this is the last batch. Lucky last. Let's get it on. There's my water. So it didn't come out too bad. We did a good job winnowing it. And the washing water, it's not too bad. That was a mistake. Starting to get messy now. Now it's getting messy. Not enough seed in there to keep it from jumping out. I'm nearly there. Nearly there. And we've got to figure out the volume, what size container we're going to get it into for the vessel. Just wants to get so messy now. Got mustard seed going everywhere. Alright, it's actually looking pretty good. latte, and look, actually looks amazing. Let's try and do this without making more of a mess. Look at that. Hang on. Nah. There. Ground mustard seed. It's looking pretty good. Better not get too close to it. It's spicy. I think I need to sit down and take a quick break. I'll sit down and relax and drink my coffee. I'll be back in a second. Came back, had my coffee, went for a bit of a look around while I was out to see if I could find a fermentation vessel, because I kind of got a bit more than I planned. After all the brine went in there, the volume really picked up. So, I've got these three plastic ones, so it's not ideal. The one I wanted to use isn't ideal either, because storage, where it's been stored, it might need a bit of extra to deal with. So, we'll mix this up. And it's getting in my eyeballs though. How big is this bowl? I don't think they've got. It's got to be about 10 litres. Fold through this extra brine I put in there and get it consistent. Oh, my eyeballs. Oh, that mustard's really getting into my eyes. Need a gas mask. Alright, that's far too much for those containers. I'm going to have to look for something else. What have we got in here? Anything that I can use for a couple of weeks to hold that. Non-reactive container with a decent lid that we can make to be airtight. Well, that's really good actually. That is. Have a look outside. I think I found something. I think that should be big enough. So I have some grain in there. We'll need to wash it up though. It's a food grade bucket. Got rice in it. Right, I'm going to have to work at that because I'll need to put a hole in the top of it as well and go and get my airlock. I'm going to track down my airlock. I'll be right back. Alright, we've got something. Nearly there. Just got to get this airlock ready. And my water's too hot. somewhere to put this rice now. Put it in this bowl. No, it is only for ducks. Another bucket somewhere. Almost there. Put the rice into here for now. Right, so we've got a bucket for that. We should be able to get all of that in there easily. And then I can make an airlock with the lid. We'll be set. Should have about this much nectarine, which is realistically too much for a fermentation. But I'm counting on it being so thick that when the bubbles rise, it's going to come all the way up. Hopefully it doesn't come up too much, so then we'll have big trouble with the airlock and that coming up and blocking the airlock. I'm wondering if we could put a tube down the middle to allow some of the gases to escape so the whole thing doesn't rise, but it'll probably ooze into it in through holes anyway. Well, let's get it started and see what happens. I think the last time I did it, it didn't really rise that much anyway, from what I remember. And we're going to need to put a barrier to stop or minimise oxygen to the mustard. Oh, that's strong. That's strong mustard. So we don't want the fermentation to be subject to oxygen because you'll get mould and all sorts of other things that you don't want. So you want an anaerobic environment for it. So what I'll do to reduce that, because there's a whole lot of neck room in there that realistically we don't want, I'll put some Glad wrap, the sticky plastic, cling wrap. Mustard in my eye. So a bit of cling wrap on there. Made a mess. Get that nice and flat. So to minimise the exposure of that to oxygen, I'll put cling wrap on it. We want to make sure that the walls of the vessel are free of particles. So if it doesn't rise too much, those particles that are exposed to the oxygen initially can go mouldy, and that will infect your product. So what I'll do is get myself a good square of this. Get it in there, nice and neat, and even. So before it starts to ferment, it hasn't got any oxygen. And as it ferments, the Glad wrap can lift, doesn't matter. As the chamber fills with carbon dioxide, we become safe. I'll show you that. We've got a nice film of sticky plastic over there. The next thing I need to do is actually build the lid. So I need to get this grommet, put a hole in this lid to fit this. So I've got to find myself a drill bit, and maybe I'll end up using a knife. I'm not sure if I've got a drill bit that big. I might need my glasses for this one. It's a bit risky using a spade bit on a thin plastic lid. But that spade bit is actually exactly the size I need. So we'll go with it. Don't want to go too fast because I don't want to tear the plastic. Maybe we'll go from this way as well. Beautiful. Look at that. Bit of water in there. Is that cold? Perfect. There we go. So we want that on from 18 to 24 degrees Celsius. Optimal temperatures. You want to start it off nice and slow fermentation. Slower fermentation, you get a nicer product, but you don't want any below 18. So 18 to 24 is good. And for my season, I think I'll get away with it in the bathroom or the laundry. Summertime, if you get really hot days, probably you might want to douse it with some water or something to keep it cool. But I think over the next few days I'm looking at an average of about 20 degrees, so it should be perfect. I'll put it in the laundry. And then we check back. Once that stops bubbling, it's ready to go. You don't want to open it, you need to keep it shut. You don't get too curious and open it because you'll introduce oxygen. Mags, how you doing today? Congratulations on the first. Well done. You've been streaming for a long time and you got first, mate. So you don't want to succumb to that curiosity and have a peek in there because you ruin it. You need to let it ferment all the way. Yeah, it's dark outside. What time have we got? 8 o'clock. So I think about 7:30 we're looking at it getting dark now. Midsummer something, 7:30 p.m. Handsome man. Thank you, Mags. So that's ready to go down. We've made a bucket because the bucket I was going to use, the container I was going to use wasn't big enough in the end because I had too much brine in there. And we're up to here with product now. So that's like, I think this is a 15 litre bucket, so that's almost 10 litres. And then that's too much neck room in there for fermentation. You probably, if it was liquid, you want about this much neck room. But what I've done is put a layer of cling wrap very carefully over the product to make sure that all the oxygen is excluded, and then when it starts to ferment it'll create carbon dioxide and push it into that chamber and then push it out through the airlock. So in theory, the oxygen being excluded from the product, we shouldn't have any mould in there. And it's so thick, I expect that it should rise all the way up and possibly even start to come out of the airlock. If it's a really happy, healthy fermentation and I haven't got my neck room correct, we can definitely start to see that oozing out and possibly even blow the top off the airlock. Blow the airlock. If it gets clogged and then it's pushing and the carbon dioxide will grow and the pressure will rise and that will pop the top off. So we've got to keep our eye on it. But I'm hoping, it's always a guessing game. The last time I did a mustard fermentation several years ago, I did it in one of these. And I had it up to here. So the ratio is about the same, but when I did it with the cling wrap on the product, and then cling wrap over the top, and then an elastic band. It's my makeshift airlock. When I'm doing things, fermentation of kimchi and sauerkraut and whatnot, I do it like that. I put the product in, and then I put the Glad wrap, press it onto the product, and then I put a weight in there, so I'll get, which is generally perfect for me. That one's like a little round plate. A weight, a couple of them, because you want your product to be underneath the brine. See, if you have sauerkraut in there, you need the product to be pressed down underneath the brine, because anything that protrudes out of the brine, you're risking to go mouldy, especially if you have oxygen in there when it gets started. And then, so what happened was that rose nearly to the top, but I didn't grind it as much as what I ground this one. So it was more of a whole grain, which I expect the gaps between the grains would allow more gas to escape. Whereas this is a thick paste, the gas could get trapped in there and then it could really rise up pretty badly. So I can expect that to be a bit of a mess if it does come up, block up here, and then pop that. And if that happens, if I catch it in time, I could probably fix it and save it. Otherwise, I might have to halt the fermentation early and bottle it up into like a mini containers with a sort of a makeshift airlock, and then move it on from there. But I'll keep my eye on it and hopefully we can catch it in time. Mags, can't wait to try chili oil again. I can't wait to get it sent. I have to send some post possibly on Thursday. I'll be going to the post office, so probably I'll get it sent then. It's just me at home and I haven't been shopping, I haven't been in town, there's no reason for me to go into town except for that, so I'll tee it up with some other things and I'll go in and make a day of it. It's not far into town where I'm at, but I don't like to use the fuel unless I can add it on to a few other trips. So another thing I was thinking was sauerkraut, and if anyone's interested in having a look at doing how we do a sauerkraut, because it's pretty quick and easy. The only thing is I don't have cabbage, but I do have the zucchini, which I can do exactly as we do the sauerkraut. So we can have a look at that, and I can do a quick batch in one of these while we're here, and then it'll be time for my dinner. So let's have a go at that. Get rid of this garlic. Cabbage! You know, I uninstalled that game with all that cabbage. Ah. I have a pot on the stove that needs tending to as well. I'll just get that sorted, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I'm going to use zucchini for this one. I think a container like that, probably another 2. 1. So what I'll do with this zucchini, and I've got to adjust my phone. There we go. Hang on, sorry, I'm not quite. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. I've got to organise this area a bit more. I'll put this in the laundry to ferment. You can make sauerkraut with any type of cabbage, Sarah. Normally not the Chinese cabbage. If you've got Chinese cabbage, you can certainly make sauerkraut, but I would recommend kimchi instead. Mags, you gifted me a really good game on Steam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mags. I'll have a look at that when I get the moment after we do this. Amazing, Mags. Is it Hello Kitty? Alright, so we'll just cut the ends off. A lot of sauerkraut you'll find with spices in it. Sauerkraut is really good with things like a juniper berry, a little bit of juniper berry in there, some allspice maybe, some other spices, but the best thing to do is keep it simple. Unless you have a bunch of veggies that you need to preserve from your garden or from your produce, because sauerkraut is traditionally a way of preservation, food preservation, fermentation. So I need that bowl. You know what, I was going to wash the mustard out of there, but I think I'm going to keep it in there. We can have mustard, zucchini, sauerkraut stuff. That should be fine enough. Keep your claw grip. I'm going to go for make sure you're using your claw grip, always like that. Never let your thumb stick out, never let your fingers stick out, you'll chop the tips of them off. So make sure you've got a claw grip going on. And you know what, actually I've got a better knife for this. I'll go and find it. This one. Look at that. This is a Chinese chopper. Alright. I think I said this on the last stream. But it looks like a meat cleaver. It's not. You never want to chop bone with this. It's a meat cleaver. There's different. This one you can chop chicken bones. It's a smaller one. It's got a thicker blade. And when it's sharpened on a less of a. It's not as sharp, so when you cut through bone, you don't damage the blade. So this one, it's a Hong Kong butcher's knife. And look at the backbone on that. This one is for cutting beef and pork bones. Cut through them like butter. And your fingers too, be careful with your fingers. So this one is actually a Chinese chef's knife. It's for using vegetables and slicing. The best thing I like about Chinese chef's knife is when you finish slicing, it's like a shovel. You get it in there. And they come in different sizes. This one's the size for my wife. I actually probably would prefer this one than the other one, but the other one's dirty now, so let's go with that. The smaller one's a little bit easier to manage. This one's better for doing the big jobs like this. You can shovel and go ham on your product. We've probably got too much. Probably got too much. Johnny Neil, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great. We're over here doing some fermentation, and we finished the wild fermented mustard. That's in the laundry fermenting now. Tim, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great. And now we're doing a bit of a bonus. We're doing like a sauerkraut. But we're using a type of plant, it's a gourd, but it's eaten like a zucchini. So this is a demonstration on how to make sauerkraut. When you do your cabbage, you get chunks of cabbage like that, slice it fine like this. Nice knife, isn't it? Any beer? Yeah, no, I don't drink beer, but I think sauerkraut and beer is a good combo, isn't it? It's a good combo. I think I'm going to stop at this many zucchini. And then we'll go on to the kneading. So, obviously when you slice your cabbage like that, you'll get shreds, which is, if you could imagine that we're doing cabbage, and this is shredded cabbage, and my camera is not quite straight. So, there's your shredded cabbage, beautifully shredded. I could mess around and do julienne, which will be something like this. Julienne being just matchsticks to make it more like cabbage, but I'm not going to spend the time doing that. All I'm doing with this is preservation. So I'll preserve it and then I'll use it in something later on. So we've got a good amount of salt in this. You don't want to over salt it, you're looking at about 4% salt by weight. Beer and sauerkraut to give it a caramel look. Tim, I think you're onto something there. I think that would be pretty nice too. Any beer? You know, I don't have any beer. I've got no beer at all. Johnny Neal, professional knife skills. I'm a chef by trade, so I've been trained in knife skills, and that's how we do it. Always, when you do your knife, claw grip. You've got your fingers in a claw. Keep your fingers tucked in. Never let your thumb stick out. You're going to chop the tip of it off. Never let your fingers stick like this, because you'll chop the tips of them off. Always keep your thumb tucked in behind it, your little finger tucked in. and chop against your knuckles, and then you won't chop your fingers off. Just gotta wash my hands. So this part's the fun part, and I have a piece here for it. If you've ever seen one of these, to sharpen my knives regularly, I do. And actually I was talking about sharpening my knife today. It needs sharpening. You could possibly do that on stream if you want a bit of a lesson on sharpening a knife. Usually put a can in, let it sit 24 hours in a crock pot. Are you cooking your sauerkraut? Tim. This is a sauerkraut pounder. So you put your cabbage in your pot and you pound the bejesus out of it with this. But I don't have the pot and I'm not doing it. So I do it this way instead. You know what? It's too high. And we get a damp cloth like this to make it stick. There. So you want to go 4% salt by weight. It's a good amount. I think anywhere between 1 and 5%. I kind of tend to lean to 4%. And the fermentation at 4%, 5%, right? The salt stops the bad bacteria growing and encourages the lactobacter, the lactic fermentation. So what we're doing here is kneading that salt in and kneading out the juices. We need the juices to get the brine going. And this is the same thing, this is exactly the same method as you'll do with sauerkraut. You've heard of brain freeze? Well, I got finger freeze. I need to slow down, my fingers are freezing. You got to knead it, get all the juices out, and we use the natural juices as the brine. When you do cabbage, the cabbage doesn't crumble like the zucchini does. You end up with softer kind of threads, shreds. Store-bought and put some shredded pork, beer, sauerkraut. Tim, that sounds yum. That does sound yum. You have some German sausage with that? Because that'd be the worst. Sorry about that. Alright. So we've got a good amount of brine, got a good amount of things going on in there. Can't really see the brine, can you? I want to spill it all over my laptop. There. That's kneaded pretty good. And I've got mustard in there as well from, this is the bowl I use to mix up the mustard. You German, Tim. You like the worst, hey? I like a bit of worst. So here we want to get that product underneath the brine. Otherwise we've got a high chance of it going mouldy. But I don't know if you can see that. So we can add extra brine to that if we don't get enough brine out of it. Or my hack is to do it like this. To exclude the oxygen from the product. And then I get a plate which fits into there. I think this one, no, it doesn't fit. Alright, we'll use a couple of these ones. To weigh it down, and then more plastic over the top. So with the first layer we've excluded oxygen from the product for the initial fermentation, and then when it starts to rise it'll push carbon dioxide into the chamber, which will force the oxygen out. Get a elastic band around there. Make sure you get the elastic band around there properly, like that. It's very important to have that elastic band in there, because the elastic band will stop all of your oxygen going back in, any contamination coming back in, and allow carbon dioxide to escape. So there's my hack, my airlock hack for your sauerkraut. If you don't have a proper airlock or a fermentation kit, that's how I do it. That's my little hack. If you get a really happy, healthy fermentation and it bubbles up and goes over the plate, you need to finish it a bit early, because anything that goes up over the plate has risk of going mouldy. So don't let it sit there too long. But if you have a good chamber and it's got no oxygen in it, you should be okay. You need to keep your eye on it, because it's not perfect. If you focus on it a bit more, if you've got a proper weight, if you put proper weights on there and do it a little bit better rather than a quick hack, you will have much better success. So these plates are a bit curved on there. These plates I'm using, they're curved, little bowls. They're not ideal. So you want to have a flat plate, more flat. And another thing you could do is, if you really wanted to go ham, which I've done before, if your bucket is the right size, you can sticky plastic them two together like that, wrap it really thoroughly, and that's a perfect weight. like that, if that's wrapped really thoroughly with sticky plastic. I mean, I don't like using too much sticky plastic, but this is a quick, easy hack if you don't have a fermentation vessel. And that, the shape of that means anything that goes up over the top is going to drip back down, and that's a pretty decent weight to keep all of your product. As long as your brine isn't up over there and starts leaking into cracks between the sticky plastic. If your brine is generally underneath that rim, it can go up there and then come back down, that's fine. And that'll work really well. So just a quick hack for you. And again, you want from 1 to 5% salt, brine. I like to use 4%, and your temperature for fermentation should be between 18 and 24 degrees Celsius to get a good fermentation. If it's too hot, it'll go too fast, and you can end up with a sloppy mess. And if it's too cold, you can end up with rot. It'll just go bad, and then you can't eat it. It'll make you sick or more. First time seeing him in person. Look at that coffee machine. I had myself 4 coffees today. A little bit too much. But all the cooking and talking and eating, I mean, I didn't eat much, but cooking and talking and walking, I needed it. So I'm going to get that and put it in my laundry, because that's a good temp for that, for my sauerkraut. I'll get that started, and I'll only give that a few days before I put it in the fridge, because I don't want a really sour one. I just want to preserve it for a little while. If I did want a really sour one, then you can leave it for as long as you want. If you've got a good airlock system, and you can leave it there indefinitely. It'll get sour, really sour, like vinegar. But I mean, sauerkraut's supposed to be sour. A mini Keurig, Tim. That rings a bell. But I can't think of what that is off the top of my head. So let's have a look at these knives, because I want to sharpen that knife. I do want to sharpen my knife. I'm going to take a quick toilet break, I'll be right back. Okay, so you got to pick up a sharper. No, Johnny. That's something I hear my mum say all the time. She goes, "Oh, I've got to buy a new knife. Mine's not sharp enough." It's only simply because she doesn't know how to sharpen it, or she doesn't care for it properly in the drawer. Generally, all she does is get her knife, opens a drawer, shit drawer, the one with all the wooden spoons and crap in it, and throws it in. And that ruins your blade. Another thing people do is use it on top of a steel oven tray, or even a glass or stone cutting board. They're not cutting boards, they're just like a board you put a hot pot on or something. You never want to use them as a as a cutting board. So you need to care for your knife, and then your knife will be a trusty sharp knife forever. Well, until it wears out. And I'm sure you've all seen a chef or a cook use a steel. The steel is only used to maintain the blade. When you need to sharpen your knife, you're actually creating a new blade. As such, my stone is here somewhere. So these are my sharpening stones. I'll use these two. This one is a wet stone and this one's a polishing stone. It's a bit old and wrecked, this one, but we'll see how we go. Oh, Keurig coffee machine. Coffee machine, Tim. Okay. So, depending on how you start using your stone, Joe F93, how you doing today? Welcome in. Hope you're doing great today. Fox and I'm with the raid. How you doing? Welcome in. Hope you're doing awesome today. How's your stream? Let's have a little shout out. Squibs, how you doing today, Squibs? What's going on? You missed out all the action on the mustard, Squibs. All the action. It's a G-Man human skin stream. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome in. How was your day today? Unfortunately, I don't get to see your clip because of my setup. It's not allowing me to see anything. It's so early for you, Squibs. And you missed all the action. It's alright, you'll be able to see the VOD and they'll put it up on YouTube as well. We've finished making, Fox. We've made tomato and avocado dip for a redemption. I have a redemption on my stream. Choose what I cook next. But I've had it switched off for many months because we renovated the kitchen and I wasn't cooking anything. So now that I'm cooking again and I've got a new kitchen, and I'm getting on top of my redemptions where I'm doing that. So this one was tomato and avocado dip for Majestic Jazzy Panda. And the next one, actually, and we had wild fermented mustard sauce. So we made this stream is vegan, everything was vegan for Squibs. Squibs wanted, last one we did was the kangaroo tail, so Squibs couldn't get into that because it was obviously meat. But now we're doing a vegan one and eating pot. I was eating pot noodles. So we we do the tomato avocado dip, and then we did the wild fermented. Actually, we started that first because I had to do my last harvest of mustard seed. So all the mustard seed was grown in my garden, and it turned out we got 4.115 kilos of mustard seed harvested, and I saved a little bit for my curries, and there's a little bit left over from the bottom of the wash pot, so we have a little bit left over. This will go in my garden. A little bit left over for my garden. I found there was a bit of grit in the bottom after I washed it, so I wasn't going to put that in. So that'll go in my garden. And ended up with near on 10 litres of mustard sauce. So that's in the fermentation chamber. I can show you that actually. So there's our makeshift fermentation chamber. It's a food grade bucket, and actually because of the amount of brine I had to use to get the consistency that I wanted, the paste that I wanted, I ended up with a whole lot more than I bargained for. So I had to run away and create a new fermentation vessel out of this bucket, which I had some old rice that I was using to feed the poultry with. Drilled a hole in it, put the airlock there. So that's going away nicely. And whenever you're doing wild fermentations, you need to have between 1 and 5% salt brine or salt in the product by weight. And then from 18 to 24 degrees Celsius is your optimal fermentation, and you need to have an anaerobic environment, so no oxygen, and that allows the good bacteria to grow. So we'll have lactic acid, the lactobacter, that's what we're promoting, will grow lactic acid, and possibly some acetobacter, which is your acetic acid, so vinegar. It'd be nice and sour. I don't want this too sour, but whatever. If it becomes sour, then that's fine. It's just going to be pickled mustard in the end, fermented mustard. I won't pasteurize it, so it'll be full of all the goodness of your what do they call them? Probiotics. All that goodness. So there was that, and then as a bonus we covered some sauerkraut, but I don't have any cabbage and I don't like cabbage. I do like sauerkraut, I put sauerkraut in my food, but I don't have any cabbage, and I used the zucchini, this one, which technically it's not a zucchini, it's actually a chilicoti, and they grow into a melon, this one being a very small one. They grow to about 4 or 5 times that size, like about this wide, and that's a chilicoti, but the young ones are just like a zucchini. So I sliced a bunch of them up, and we done that exactly how you would make a sauerkraut, and so that's what we did. And now we're about to sharpen the knife. Okay, so that's away, and I'll just draw you a picture of this knife. I need to get some paper. So I need to draw you this because this is a common misconception about knife sharpening. Hear about it regularly. Sauerkraut is can I draw SpongeBob? I'll try. Sauerkraut, hang on, is basically soured cabbage. I think that's a direct translation. Soured kraut being, is it Deutsch for cabbage? Let me see, I've got a spelling here, I'll copy it over. Alright, I'll copy the description for you. And actually, sauerkraut is the only way that I really will enjoy cabbage. It stinks. You're doing it wrong if it stinks. While it's fermenting, you might get a particular smell out of it, but I quite like the smell of sauerkraut. You always see Americans eat on the hot dogs. It's nice. It's basically just soured cabbage, and so actually back to the knife. This is a common misconception of knives. When a chef or a cook puts a knife on the steel, they're sharpening their knife, right? That's wrong. They're not. All they're doing is maintaining the blade. So you put your knife on the steel, and that'll maintain the blade. So when you have a blade, I'll just draw it for you here, and it gets damaged, you end up with a little piece of steel on the tip, something like this. See that bent bit at the top? You can imagine that's part of the blade that's been bent because it's been damaged. And what this does, what the steel does, is it wobbles it, bends it, and takes that piece off. So you get this piece here, and the steel will bend it from side to side, bend it to this side, bend it back to the other side, and snap it off, and sort of, as it goes, grinds off the very, very point, and just gets rid of that. I can never remember the name of that piece. It's got a particular name, but that piece, that very fine bit of burr, that's the one. That burr, the steel removes that burr. So that's all you're doing when you're putting your knife on the steel. Burr remover, exactly, Druid. And squibs, that's the thing. That's the common misconception about the steel. It's not a sharpener. It's a maintainer. So all you're doing is removing that burr. You're not actually sharpening. To sharpen or create a new blade, your knife will be sharper after you put it on a steel generally, because you are removing that burr, but you're not actually physically sharpening the blade. So I have my stone here, and I've had it soaking. This stone, when you're doing, when you sharpen your blade and you're using a stone, when you get your stone, generally you decide you're going to use oil or you're going to use water, and whichever one you decide, you need to stick with it. So if you use oil on your stone, you always use oil on your stone and don't go to water. If you use water on your stone, I think you can let it dry out and go to oil, but you can't go back. You should always stick with it. And I actually use detergent on mine. So you let it soak. I've got my stone soaking. This is a wet stone. And the best angle for a home cook to use is about 25 degrees. At 25 degrees you get a solid sharp blade that is more robust. It's going to last a lot longer. If you go any finer than that, then your blade's going to be a lot more susceptible to damage. You need to take a lot more care of it. So this knife is one that I use. It's kind of like my banger. I use it as a general banger sort of knife, and it's a high quality blade. It's a Wüsthof, and it's not cheap. It's nearly $200 or something AU, and it's a fantastic knife. But I use this one. I keep it at 25 degrees because that's how I use this knife. If I get this one out, this one's a Shun Damascus steel, Shun Premier, and this one I keep at about 31 degrees something. It's a lot finer. So this one, when I sharpen, I can shave with this one. But this one, not so much. Not so much. And this one actually, as a point, if you're going for Damascus steel, it's harder. And a harder steel, you need a harder stone. So I've got a whetstone here, which is what this is matched to. And the whetstone really grinds through the softer steels much easier. And the whetstone isn't cheap. They don't come cheap. So I use detergent on that. I'll get myself a that's a knife. This is a knife. Gosh, Luke, how you doing today? Hope you're doing well. So I use quite a bit of detergent in this. So that's probably 2 teaspoons detergent in there. And somewhere about there. So that's very sudsy. Cause that's a knife. This one's a Hong Kong butcher's knife. This one, squibs, look away. Vegans, look away. This one's for chopping bone. Look at the backbone on that thing. It's a beast. I'm a bit of a knife collector. I like my knives. So the detergent, I use a fair bit of detergent on this. Allows you to see have a good visual on the angle of your knife. Is why I use detergent. If you just use water or oil, you don't really get to see as well as where you're going. So I like to use detergent because it suds up and you can see better where the knife is going. So go for about 25 degrees. Can't see that, can you? Let's bring that down a bit more. There. Alright. So once on each side. You don't have to go fast, and you're using the coarse side. So we create the blade with the coarse side. All the work is done on the coarse side, and then we refine it on the fine side. And once you get some good suds up, again, don't go fast. Keep focus on your angle. It's important to keep the focus on that angle. And I don't know if you can see there. You see, yes, you can. Where the suds are. And if you look closer, you can see the line where the blade goes. I'll show you there. You can see those lines, and you can see the width of the line, and it helps you keep track of how well you're sharpening your blade. My kids love this. It makes their it puts that awesome sensation up their spine. Like, if you're old enough, you might remember your teacher running her fingernails down the blackboard as torture, something like that. How often would you need to do this? This knife is pretty blunt. I haven't done it in maybe 4 or 5 months, longer, but it's only, I haven't used it much. I rotate between a bunch of knives. So if I'm using a knife in the kitchen as a chef all day, every day, I would be doing this once every week or once every 2 weeks. But at home, as a banger, around home, I do it probably once every 3 or 4 months, depending on how much I use it. Marimatsu, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great. Gonna make me a sandwich. Nice. Alright, enjoy your sandwich, Fox, and see you soon. You're reading sauerkraut. We did do a little bit of sauerkraut. Kind of, not exactly sauerkraut, but the exact same method, using a different vegetable. We use a vegetable that's very, very similar to zucchini. And I was thinking that I needed to sharpen my blade. And Johnny was pretty keen to see some knife sharpening. So we're doing a quick lesson on sharpening blades. You see that crossover? You can really see where you're going with your blade if you use the detergent like that. Again, you need to go nice and slow, you don't want to go fast. You focus on getting the right angle and the right pressure, the same consistent pressure, and getting all of the blade and not just doing one bit. Got a basic sharpener that came with the knife. Is that the one that you kind of hold like this and then scrape through like that? Love be a good sharpening. So every now and again you want to check your blade, Sometimes if you look really close, you might not be able to get a focus on it, but you can see where you haven't really got a bit, or you've missed a bit, or you've done it a bit too much somewhere. It's pretty hard to see in that focus, but for me I would say I've done it too much on this side, in this corner, and on the other side, the side that you can see there, a little bit too much on the tip. So you can see this back corner on the heel. It's probably a bad habit of mine. It's actually pretty bad on that back corner. You can't see it on the heel. I've overdone it here. Miss your needles. Has a coarse and fine section. Yeah, Johnny, normally they're pretty good initially, but once they get worn, they'll wear out in one particular place, and then when you put your knife through it, you actually damage your knife. So just keep your eye out on where it goes, where the V connects. If it starts to get warm, then you might need replacement. So when we're doing a knife like this, or any knife on a stone, what you're doing is you're actually creating this burr. Backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, you create this burr as well. So we need to deal with that as well. But that comes at the very end. Got too much detergent here, it's getting slippery. It's feeling pretty good, and it looks pretty good. So what we're doing with the coarse section of the stone is we create the blade. All the work happens on the coarse side. So you want to make sure 100% that your blade is good before you move on to the next side. Because all the creation's going on here. And I'm looking somewhere about 25 degrees because that's the most robust blade to get a sharp blade from. Somewhere about 24, 25. Hang on, I said 31 before and I think I meant more like 15 to 18 degrees. Finer blade anyway for my other knife. I'm not sure where I got 31 from. Gonna hop into your lecture. Alright, Miramatsu, thanks for dropping in. I'll see you next time. Just gonna grab a drink of water. squibs with the booty. Right, that's actually feeling nice. Let's have a good look at that. Have a good look down the blade and make sure we're nice and even. We haven't done anything silly. We haven't missed the tip of any of it. That looks pretty good, except for that heel where I've kind of messed it up a lot. I think I need a little bit more on there. I think I've sort of graduated a bit finer than 25 degrees after a little while there. Make sure you keep it. If you can't keep it, you can actually get like a brace thing. You can clamp it to your knife, and then when you go over the stone, it keeps the same angle every time, and they're very good. That looks really good. I'm happy with that. Looks nice and even. Feels good. It's not really sharp because I've still got the burr on it and I haven't put it through the fine section yet. So what I'll do is I'll just rinse this off because we've got a lot of coarse grindings left on there. We want to get rid of that. Because we're going to refine the blade now. I'm going to use the finer side. So all the hard work's been done. Same angle. It's like polishing it. Get it nice and smooth. And when you use the coarser stone, obviously you get bigger granules, so then you get bigger cuts. When it cuts the blade, it cuts deeper, so the finer one cuts obviously finer and removes the deeper gouges, so you get a more solid blade. Time for me is 20 past 9 p.m. and it's past my dinner time. So I'll sharpen this blade and then we'll raid out, and I'll be back a little bit later with some Dark Souls 3. So who should we raid out to? Stream started at 3 AM. You know what? I was out harvesting my mustard and that was great. And then I came closer to the house and started harvesting some veggies, and I kept losing connection, and the stream kept shutting down. So I started a few hours before what it says on my stream. It says I've been going for 3 hours, but I've been going for about 5 hours. We spent half an hour winnowing the seed, half an hour to an hour winnowing seed in the breeze under the shade of a tree, and then I harvested some beans. After it shut down, I spent some time harvesting because I just couldn't get any love out of the connection. So I shut down for an hour, half an hour or something, and then came back to it. You missed it all again. Yep. So there'll be 3 or 4 VODs, a couple of really short ones. Only bother, if you go back and watch it, only bother with the first one and the last one. The other 3 are just going to be a mess because of the connection issue. Alright, that's actually really nice. I'm loving the feel of that. Might even get to shave with this one. What did I think of Dark Souls 2? Johnny, I really enjoyed it up until the DLC boss runbacks. And then I kind of got a bit sour on it. And I didn't finish the DLCs. I finished the main game. And I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. But those DLC boss runbacks, they kind of ruined it for me. I love Dark Souls 1. I'd like to go back and have another playthrough of that and do a couple of the quest lines. And I'm loving Dark Souls 3. It's pretty awesome. Alright, that's actually a beautiful blade now. So I've refined that a lot with the finer stone. Now we'll take this one out. I've got to be pretty careful with this because I actually found this one in somewhere on the ground, and I picked it up because what the hell is this? And I looked at it for a while, and then I realised it's a polishing stone. They don't come cheap. So so I didn't bother go and buy one. I found it. It's obviously broken part, but it works as long as I'm careful. So this is a very fine bit, and most people at home won't bother with a polishing stone. If you've got really sharp knives like this one that you want to keep extra fine, you'll definitely want to polish it. But for a home kitchen knife, I wouldn't bother normally. But I'm a bit of a knife buff. I love my knives. So I hit it on the polisher. Bit of a polish. Someone's still using the other half, I bet they are. And then This burr is still on there, this burr. So we remove that. But instead of the angle we were doing before, somewhere about here, we want to do a much finer angle. And very gentle. We've got a soft new blade now. We just remove that burr. And what do you think? Can I shave? Not quite. Almost. Almost. If I was using the other knife, I'll be able to shave. So, oh, hang on. There it is, look at that. Shaved. That's at about 25 degrees, probably a little bit finer. And then if I get a tomato, you can imagine how well we're going to do. You know how annoying tomato skins are to cut. So 2 hands, 2 fingers. Look at that. Not even any pressure on there. And if you're doing onion, if you want to cut your onion, someone mentioned cutting onions before, sharp knife, try and get the edge right. Not that one. Paper thin. You really can cut your onions thin. And I'll tell you, if you're chopping onions, you want the sharpest knife possible. It helps stop the tears. The sharper the knife. And you can chop like this. So keep this connected at the end. So that's all connected. You could fan that out. You don't cut through the end, keep the end connected. And then on this side, there. And then you can finish that off or throw it in for your soup. A couple of tips about onions while we're here is keep that root part connected. Don't cut that all off, because the more you cut off of that, the more fumes are going to be released, so the more you'll cry. And if you refrigerate your onions before you chop them, they're going to release less gases, because the gases are going to be slower and they'll be trapped in there more. And the sharper your knife is, the less of the cell walls you'll damage when you slice through them, so the less gases will be released. And the most dangerous one, chop them faster. You won't be there as long. Just make sure you use your claw grip. Keep those fingers tucked in. Don't let that thumb stick out, you'll chop it off. Don't let any of your little fingers stick out, you'll chop off the tip of it. Always keep the claw grip when you've got it against the knife, like that. Chop, 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 chop. Don't let any stick out, you'll chop them off. So, I'm gonna I'm going to chop this up, put it in the fridge. I'll cook something with it tomorrow. I've already got my dinner sorted tonight, so that'll be for stew or something. Not sure what I'm going to make tomorrow. I've got dinner and lunch already sorted. Dinner today, lunch tomorrow. Got some rice in the rice cooker. Maybe I'll have some rice. The tomato, green tomato, if you get green tomatoes. Normally you only get them if you grow your own tomatoes. But you can make fried green tomatoes. Green tomatoes are good to cook, stew, chutney, lots of things you can do with green tomato. So I used the green tomato today for the avocado tomato dip to mix it up a little bit for Majestic Jazzy Panda's redemption. Okay, so we'll get that into a container, put it in the fridge, and cook it up for my lunch tomorrow. I think that about wraps it up. So we're going to do a little raid. Who should we raid? Has anyone got anyone to raid? I don't. Hang on, I can check my Twitch here. If anyone has someone to raid, I'll look at who I'm. No, we got Frog playing. Excuse me. Rimworld. Moist Jesus. No, what's he doing? Disco Elysium. That could be fun. Moist Jesus with Disco Elysium. What's this? D-Wild Frog. Teleparty. Twilight Saga. Frog with the raid. I was just talking about raiding you, Frog. We're heading out now, Frog. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for dropping in, everybody. Hanging out, coming in with the raid. Welcome in, raiders. And what is that link, Frog? We were just looking at someone to raid, but while you're here, I can go through what we did today. Actually, if you go back and look at the VOD, you'll find that there's about 4 or 5 today because I had some connection problems and it kept dropping out. So I started with harvesting my mustard from the garden, the last of the crop, and over the season I've been harvesting, I ended up with 4.115 kilos of mustard seed from my garden, and then I saved a little bit for my curries, and then I tried to do a bit of harvest from my garden to show. I was going to show some edible weeds and some of the herbs I've got in the garden that are a little bit obscure, like weeds. A lot of the weeds that came in from Europe are actually old edibles that have been forgotten and ignored. So there was a bit of that, but my connection was dropping out, so that was no good. And then we came inside and I made the redemption for Majestic Jazzy Panda. So I have a redemption on my stream that you can choose what I cook next. I've had it shut off for the last more than 6 months because I had renovations on the kitchen and I wasn't cooking. Nothing was going on, so we didn't do that. But I'm catching up on that now, and then I'll have it started up again once I've caught up. And today we did the avocado tomato dip for Majestic Jazzy Panda. And then after that, and while I was snacking on that, we did wild fermented mustard sauce, or mustard. So we made mustard, wild fermented mustard, and I'll go and grab the vessel and show you. So I made something about 10 litres of wild fermented mustard. This is up to about where my finger is here, so I've got a fair bit of neck room, but being a thick paste, it should rise a lot. So as the gases build up from the fermentation, it will expand the product, and I'm hoping the neck room is just about right. It doesn't expand too much and then start exploding off the top. Otherwise, I have a layer of cling film over the top of the product to make sure it's not exposed to oxygen in the meantime. So by the time it starts rising and pushing up, it should be all carbon dioxide in the neck room. So we did that. And then we did sauerkraut. Sarah was interested in sauerkraut, so we did a sauerkraut, but I didn't actually use cabbage, I used a zucchini. But I did the same method, exactly the same method as what I do sauerkraut, and put that down to ferment. I won't let that go really sour because I just want to preserve it for a few weeks until or even just a few days. I'm going to make another zucchini lime pickle soon, so I'll use that in the zucchini lime pickle. And then what do? I sharpened my knife just before you raided. I did a lesson on sharpening sour zucchini. Yes, I did a lesson on sharpening knives, and as you can see, maybe you can't see, but it is it's sharp enough to shave. So I taught everyone how to sharpen the knife properly. Then the only thing you have to do with your knife now is to make sure you don't just toss it in the drawer like that. Make sure if you have a knife guard, these are good. If you've got a knife guard, that's not too bad if you put it in your drawer like that. But I have one of these. Actually, I've got two of these, and these are like my knife guard. So my knives are stored in there individually so they don't bang around and the blade doesn't get damaged. And I buy these from my local hardware store, actually Bunnings, but you'll likely get these from, or something like it, from anywhere like IKEA or maybe Kmart, but they sell the Anko stuff and I wouldn't be confident on its durability or quality. And also cleaning, this is like one solid piece, so when it comes to cleaning you can just throw it in the washing and I mean you're going to have to mess with that to make sure that you get in there. But some of those other things like the bamboo things that they make, ridiculous. Some of the people that design some things clearly never cleaned a thing in their life, and it's one thing you should look at when you buy something like that is how easy it's going to be to clean. So these ones are pretty good. I'm happy with that. And I've got a white-tailed spider in my drawer. Just get rid of that. I don't like white-tailed spiders. They're one of the only spiders I won't accept in my house. Simply because their favourite home is in drawers, and normally drawers with clothes in them, like underpants or bed sheets in your bed. It's where they live, and I don't want a spider biting me like that. So there you go. Redbacks, if a redback is close to the house, I won't keep a redback close to the house because that's pretty dangerous. We got kids and Kyle under there sniffing for rats, so we don't want redbacks either. And I keep the daddy longlegs in my house. Unless there's a huge amount of daddy longlegs, we clean the cobwebs out regularly. The daddy longlegs actually, before I say that, the daddy longlegs that we have in Australia is much different to ones that are in the rest of the world. We've got a different daddy longlegs. But they're really interesting is in the way that they're little long legs and they bounce like a spring on their leg, and they bite the legs of the redback and kill the redback and eat the redbacks. So that's right, Sarah, they eat other spiders. They must be, maybe it is the same. But I've seen and heard of ones in America are much different, or there's one in the Middle East or something that's daddy longlegs. That's not even a spider. It's a much different insect. So I keep them around. And the black house spider, they live in the corners of the windows and they're generally harmless. They might make you feel a bit sick for a while and hurt if they bite, but they live inside their little cobweb. Like, it's almost shaped, well, it is shaped like a burrow. It's a conical shape, and they sort of live in there and hide in there, and usually only come out when they're going to munch on something. If there's, and they're perfect. They live at the windows. They eat the blowflies and flies that come. And we, if you know much about Australia, we've got a lot of flies, a lot of blowflies, and they hang around the windows. So they're amazing. They eat them, and mosquitoes and things. So a lot of the spiders I keep and utilise. And actually, I like to go around this time into native forest areas and catch Christmas spiders from the side of the road and release them in my garden, because they come out and eat the insects at the same time as the fruit flies come, and they are in the trees catching insects in the trees, so they're amazing for fruit fly control. So I do love my spiders, but those whitetails in my drawer, whitetails in my drawers, they've got to go. Spiders are friends, mostly, yes, mostly. Spider security, exactly. So, let's, who are we going to raid then? Let's do a little raid. Who was I looking at? I think Moist Jesus playing Disco Elysium will be fun. I do like myself a bit of Moist Jesus. There's no squibs on yet. Frog's finished. Lucky we didn't raid Frog, I was just looking at him. Who else we got? Imperfect. No, I think it's definitely one for Moist Jesus. I was going to see Moist Jesus. Sorry, he's here. Did it time for spiders, let's go. I love that. Raina, how you doing today? I hope you're doing great today, Raina. You're just in time for a raid out. We've finished all our cooking today, and we're raiding out. And you missed a lot actually, but the VOD's all there. It's going to be broken up because I had some connection issues out the back, so if you're interested in going back to look at the VOD, I recommend probably just the first one and the last one, because the ones in between are going to be basically just broken. And the first one, I just harvested the rest of my mustard and winnowed it, so we sat there in the garden and winnowed a lot of mustard, and that took quite a while. Not much exciting, but good for that chill out vibe, hanging out and doing some of that. So we're going to go and hang out with Moist Jesus. Moist Jesus. And I do like myself a bit of Moist Jesus. He is hanging out playing Disco Elysium, which is a which is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Let's go. We've got 15 viewers doing it. All right. Thank you everybody for dropping in, and whatever you're up to today, have fun and take care. Ciao for now.
Wait a fucking minute.